Every crime leaves a trace. Here, we uncover what was hidden and document what was forgotten. They thought I was dead, but I surprised them. Nobody can kill me. Those words were not from a film. They were spoken by a man already wanted for mass violence. His name was Don Waney. And for years, the Niger Delta lived under his shadow. The Niger Delta is rich in oil, yet many of its communities live with poverty, pollution, and limited state protection. In places like Onelga, power does not always come from law enforcement. Sometimes it comes from armed men who step into the vacuum left behind. One name dominated that space: Don Waney. Don Waney was born Prince Ejima Igwedibia in 1983 in a Ligu community, Omoku. He dropped out of school early and drifted into street crime and cult groups. In the Niger Delta, cultism often serves as an entry point into larger criminal networks. By his early 20s, Ejima had crossed that line. Along the Orashi axis, he worked under a militant leader known as Chiboy. But internal rivalries followed. The conflict ended with Chiboy dead. At just 26 years old, Don Waney took control of the camps, the weapons, and the loyalty of armed men. From that point on, his authority was enforced by fear. His operations were structured. Kidnappings generated ransom payments, oil bunkering funded weapons. So-called security contracts legitimized extortion. Witnesses later described his men wearing military-style camouflage and red berets marked with militant symbols. Boats were always ready. Escape routes were planned. For nearly 8 years, violence became routine. In 2016, the Rivers state government offered amnesty. Don Waney accepted. He publicly denied involvement in major crimes, blaming politicians and oil interests. He was granted a chieftaincy title. But investigators later noted a critical failure. Weapons were not fully surrendered, and accountability was absent. Peace rested on trust alone. On December 31st, 2017, that fragile peace collapsed. As residents of Omoku returned from crossover church services, gunmen opened fire. The victims were unarmed. Many were simply trying to get home. 22 people were killed. Investigators linked the attack to rising tensions between Don Waney's group and local vigilantes, OSPAC. The massacre shocked Nigeria. And for the first time, public sympathy for Don Waney vanished completely. Days later, Don Waney released an audio message from hiding. He denied responsibility and dared the government to find him. It was not a declaration of innocence. It was a challenge. Security agencies intensified the search. Intelligence traced him to Enugu State, where he was hiding among civilians. Reports suggested further attacks were being planned. This time, there would be no negotiations. On January 9th, 2018, a joint operation by the Nigerian Army and DSS closed in. Gunfire ended the pursuit. Don Waney was killed alongside his second-in-command. There was no celebration, only relief and unanswered questions. Don Waney was not born powerful. He was created by neglect, broken systems, and silence. Until those conditions change, the Niger Delta, and many places like it, remain vulnerable. Real crimes do not end with one man. They end when systems are fixed. Crime may promise power, but it always collects its debt. What begins in control ends in loss, and behind every act of violence, regret is the only thing that survives.